precariously balanced on the suspension strut. What was missing, of course, the locking nut key. Nowhere to be found. But amazingly enough, that car over there has exactly the same locking nut key. Handy, eh? What isn't handy though is the fact that all of these were done up in such a way I could take them off with this. However, the locking nut, I need the breaker bar for that, so that's completely the wrong way round to do it. Well, it's coming apart, but before I can take the tank off, I need to remove the exhaust heat shield, because that's kind of in the way as well. And so whilst I do it, I shall remove the exhaust as well. Somebody wants that, I think. Almost there. I've just had 4 pork pies for lunch. £1.19 from Aldi. That's filled me up. That's a cheap lunch. The fuel tank is off that car. I can go and get the other bits he wants. But I don't really want to wander off around the back, leaving that gate open. I think some of them see it as a bit aggressive and a bit narky when I close the gates. But one of these days, I say one of these days, I'll come back in here and something's gone missing. It's happened 3 or 4 times already. To be continued. Currently, we have a yard full of telecommunications vans because of some cables that are being put up. It means that I can't roll this car off the ramps at the moment, but I can take the seats out, take the doors off. These seats have been getting wet for quite a long time. You might wonder why I'm bothering to do it. Well, there's a good reason. Yeah, there's a chap who wants the doors and the seats. And with that, we are at the end of this episode of Auntie Sophie. In fact, it is the penultimate episode, and I hate that word anyway. Auntie Sophie was threatened with this, but she still took no notice. And eventually, I gave in and decided that this car was to go for parts. Now look at it. A bare shell of what was once a wonderful, luxurious car. And the curious thing is that this car hasn't been stripped for parts to keep. Everything that's come out of this car is gone, except for the engine, which of course is in the lockup. Today, 2 hours worth of taking bits apart with a man called Lee, and now he has taken the doors, he has taken the seats, he has taken the seat belts, he has taken the parcel shelf and the rear seat belts too. This is a joy to see this. It is a joy because it means that Auntie Sophie hasn't given up in vain. And now tonight when it rains, it simply won't matter because there's, well, I was going to say there's nothing in here to get further damage, but the seats were in here, but it still took them. There will be a final episode on this car, and that is where it goes back off the ramps, the wheels get removed, the carpet pulled out, and all of the electrics. I mean, the wiring loom is it's I'm basically going to just strip it out because that is something that can be instantly cashed in. I have the desire to keep this hook thing as well. A long time ago, this car, before it was called Auntie Sophie, reached the end of the road when it was parked up in somebody's garden, and then a delightful person came along and stole the catalytic converter. Sometime later, this car ended up in my possession. Still slightly working, but you had to trick it into going. And then, at one point, I finally fixed it, followed by it being unfixed. And that's where the end of the road became the end of the street. And I made the rather uncomfortable and tough decision to take this car apart. And it's been quite a good decision because lots and lots of parts have indeed come off of this car. Now I think this is going to become a pedestrianised area because this car now has to go. So I've called up Baxendale car breakers in Accrington, and they're going to come along and take it tomorrow. £280 is the scrap price, but then I took the engine out, didn't I? And now they're going to give me 80. So that means I've got to get at least £200 for that engine I took out. Should I have taken it out? Yes, somebody will buy it. All this now means that it is time for the proper final strip down of this car. You may look at it and think, oh, there's loads left on there, or you may look at it and think there's nothing left on there. What can you strip off? And I'm stuck somewhere between wanting to keep the parts for the car and not wanting to keep the parts for the car, because I want to clear up, but I also don't want to waste things. This is the point in the video where all of the sound is lost. It happens quite a lot. It's due to the microphones not being charged up properly. It happens all the time. Don't worry about it. I'm certainly not going to. It's probably more important that... Why am I taking that one off? I don't need to take that one off. It's more important that I take the wheels off than get the cable out, because somebody wants the wheels. In fact, 2 people want the wheels. There is one slight problem here, and that is that the 800 and 600 wheels have a different stud fitting, not pattern, but different spacing to the rest of the Rover cars. I don't have any spare wheels for it, so I've got to go on the hunt, see what I can find. Locking wheel nut issue, not the nut, but the cover. Doesn't want to come off. Come on, move! It's bad enough having bloody locking wheel nuts, but those caps that rust onto the locking wheel nuts and you just can't get them off. What a mess. The only thing I can do now is soak it with WD-40 and see whether that will help it come off afterwards. Now this cap thing there has had over an hour to be soaked whilst I went off to do something else. Will that be enough? Gotcha. That did the job. But seriously, you imagine you're driving your Rover 800 up to Banbury and suddenly you get a puncture. You know, it's a bit inconvenient, but I've got a spare in the boot and I've got my complete jack. So first of all, the thing that you prong in there to pull it out with doesn't work. And then you're expected to carry around with you a series of screwdrivers, hooks, pliers and WD-40 as well, and assuming that you have a couple of hours spare to let that WD-40 sink in. This is the convenience caused by security. Who's going to nick those wheels anyway? Now that is the first wheel that doesn't actually fit. So I'm going to need this again. They have to come off. They have to be replaced. If I can't find two wheels that are the correct size, I'm going to have to make two wheels that are the correct size. Right, I'm reasonably sure this one will fit. That means I've only got one left to find. So there we go. And now, finally, bit of engineering is necessary. I'll have one more look, but I don't think I have another wheel anywhere with this fitment. So what I'm going to have to do is something else. Well, the answer is no, I'm a bit stuck. Two solutions. The first one would be to take the spare out of the sterling there. But I'm going to try the second solution. That's going to take some doing. The idea is to widen the holes. Simple. There we go. A Rover 800 with a Rover 25 wheel on the back. Well, as everybody knows, Rover 25 and 45 wheels don't fit the 800 because the PCD is different. But guess what? They do fit. You just have to try really, really hard. It's amazing, really, the amount of things I could actually take off of this car. I'm going to stop now. Auntie Sophie has certainly gone to some great lengths to help lots of other cars now. I would like to say that I've enjoyed the time I've had with Auntie Sophie, but I haven't enjoyed the time, so I can only go as far as to say I'd like to say it, but I wouldn't actually mean it. If only I could find one thing off of this car that I could keep for my own car. Nigel. I've got an idea for this. You got no one to blame but yourself, Auntie Sophie.